Hey everyone, welcome to the Breaking Point YouTube channel. If you're liking the videos, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get to the hunting action.
No, I wanted to go a little bit into like EHD and some of your experience with EHD also. Maybe just briefly talk about that, some of the things you've ran into. You kind of touched on it with your Missouri property, but
Yeah.
just, you've seen so many properties across the country. What is, I guess, some of the things that you've noticed on those properties that is causing it? And we can eventually get into kind of maybe hopefully ways to alleviate it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so EHD obviously is one of those things that it's on the rise. I mean, it's not showing signs of slowing down. Now, sure, we've had a wetter year this year, but the cases used to be very spread out. So the very first case was ever found was in 1955 in New Jersey. And then the next time, I want to say it was in the 60s or early 70s was the next case. Like there was barely anything, right? I mean, the southern part of the US, they had a little bit more than we have. But as time goes on, there's a lot of things that are changing. Obviously, there's the weather patterns are changing, the airstream has been changing, and also the big one for me, and this is kind of where my aquatic biology background comes into play, but it's actually a lot of it's agriculture practice. So as these small family farms have disappeared, all the fence lines are getting ripped out, more injection of manure is happening. Suddenly we started seeing reduction in lake health, stream health. We were losing trout streams in Wisconsin, for instance. And as that started occurring and water quality started taking this big dip, suddenly the midge was going higher, 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 because we're starting to lose these beneficial creatures, essentially beneficial aquatic life. So I think it's one of those things that if we don't do something, we're going to start to see it spiral out of control. I mean, instead of it being like, oh, it's 5 years down the road. Now, obviously there's a CWD debate, which we won't get into, but CWD isn't wiping out 80% of a population in one season. It's not happening. So like the other day, I was actually talking to Lee Lukowski about it, and we're talking about how so you have all these mature bucks and they get all wiped out. It's a 5-year build just to get that new mature whitetail.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Let's say year 3, he's a 3-year-old. You get EHD, he dies. Well, start the clock again. So really, if you're a mature deer hunter, I mean, if you're brown, it's down, whatever. You're still deer. But with that said, if you're trying to manage for that mature buck, it's a losing battle, because there's the risk of losing him is increasing, especially like down where you guys are at in Iowa. It's increasing every single year. It's getting higher and higher. Where suddenly you might not be having that. Iowa might not be the state suddenly, because you start getting all these bucks wiping out from EHD. I mean, when I bring back my Missouri lease, it was 80%. I mean, how can you come back from that? I mean, Iowa, when they got hit there, it took them, I mean, I would say all of 5 to 8 years to rebuild that herd. And so as I'm going on these properties, especially as I'm starting to do consults in Iowa and Missouri and things that way, a lot of it is honestly when I'm seeing their water on their properties, the water knowledge up here, and as you know, Mike, Wisconsin, we're so dove into water quality. I mean, it's ridiculous at times. Whereas that water quality trade is just starting to hit these other states. And I mean, even when I hunted Iowa quite a bit, my brother-in-law had a property down there. The water sucked. I mean, it was cloudy, gross. Cattle were walking through it. The farm practice there's some buffer strips, right? But a lot of the egg runoff was going into these ponds. They were usually green, gross. And it's one of those things that's saying you go around those ponds, you're getting bit by mosquitoes, you're getting a lot of ticks, you're getting all these different things. And so as I'm kind of going down there, I think all it really is to me, in my opinion, and this is based on my obviously biology experience, is we got to change the ecosystem health. We got to change the water quality health. And as we start doing that, and now we can start at least giving an idea to get rid of EHD, right? But it's going to keep spiraling out of control unless we do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and not to blame, like you said, not to blame farmers, but you can definitely see like just the farming practices have created a problem for, I mean, I don't even recall a single pond that I go to around here that isn't just full of muck and algae. And there ain't many ponds down here that I would even want to swim in, compared to like living back home. Just about anything and everything you could jump in and you'd be fine. Or even, I mean, I have a 8-month-old dog, and I even worry about taking him in some of them ponds just because there's so many things that they can get sick and get killed from, especially during the summer months. Kind of going a little off topic there, but yeah, I guess kind of my first EHD experience was we had a lease in Illinois. This was back in like 2013, 14. And I mean, you know too, Illinois got smoked pretty bad during that time frame, and it's definitely started to come back now. But I never really fully experienced it until I moved down to Iowa. EHD was just never even on my radar living in central Wisconsin. But since I've been down here, it hasn't been like a full blown where we've gotten hit, but it's been kind of localized cases. I got, few different farms over a 50 square mile area. One or two of them have had reported cases within a few miles of them. And I just based on some of the trail camera stuff that I've seen over the last 2-3 years running them on those farms, it's just, I would have bucks that should have been great up and coming deer the following season, and they either just never show up again, or you get them. I had one buck, for instance, 2 years ago that was like a 160-inch 10-pointer, had him all summer long, and in September just up and vanished. Like, I mean, he could have definitely died during youth season or something like that. So it's tough to confirm it. But even in case in my urban unit that I hunt, I ran cameras the previous year when I didn't have a buck tag, and I had like 5 or 6 really nice bucks. Was really looking forward to having that buck tag last year, and I didn't have a single buck on camera that I recognized. And I didn't even get I think a 5-year-old deer that I would have classified a 5-year-old deer on camera until like late November. So it's just there's definitely stuff going on. I feel like in the areas that I'm hunting, it's just you don't always see the deer too to confirm it.
Correct.
Which I think we've experienced that in North Dakota too, and you might obviously have a little bit more knowledge on this, but we definitely have. You can tell there's been some areas that have been hit from EHD, but in that case, it's a little bit different because we're hunting a lot of vast cattail marshes, and my personal take on it, I feel like these deer can just go into those marshes, and no one ever steps foot in those cattail sloughs. They just die, and you never really confirm, what really happened to them. But I would assume a lot of it has to do with the EHD problem we got going on.
Yeah. I mean, and you bring up a good point, like North Dakota, right? I mean, also North Dakota has their epidemic of blue-green algae killing duck hunting dogs. And once again, it's caused by poor water quality. So like you go out there and, I've duck hunted there quite a bit. I never deer hunted. Maybe one of these years I'll get out there. But with that said, you go to these ponds and they're all waist deep. They're all filled in. They're all muck filled. And then there's farm fields butting up to those wetland areas that, those bucks are living in, that the ducks are living in, you name it. And there wasn't a lot of good, like at least every time I've been out there, I mean, you're stepping in. If you're duck hunting, hopefully you can get out. There's so much muck in these areas, right?
Yeah.
So, and the Dakotas, they're getting hit by EHD and blue tongue, because those are two different variants of the virus. So they're getting double hit. Like we haven't really had the blue tongue out this way. But with that said, once again, it leads back to water quality. I mean, I can almost pinpoint any of these properties when I go on them and be like, this pond, and and that goes back to my aquatic biologist days. When I was managing ponds and lakes, I could walk up to a pond and be like, this thing is in need of help, just by seeing it, smelling it. I mean, all these different things that are red flags. If you have a stinky pond, red flag. If it's super murky and not because it just rained or because there's clay in it, that's a red flag. But even grabbing the muck, if the muck smells like rotten eggs, red flag. There's stuff you can definitely see in it, but it's definitely, I think, with the EHD thing, as we transitioned, like I said, away from the small farms and it's getting bigger equipment, bigger all this stuff. And like I said, we all love farmers, but with that said, the BMP practices, better management practices, are going away. There's not as many prairies, or they're getting ripped out. There's not as much buffer strips, and there's a lot of that precision ag stuff that hasn't been put into effect. And I know they're working on it, but every state, like I said, I can almost pinpoint it, and it's always near these areas of high pollution. And you start going, because not that it gets pretty cold in like northern Wisconsin, Minnesota, but you've seen them. Obviously, you go to those lakes; they're super clean. They're quality water. I don't even think they would ever have an issue, even if the midge went up that way, because of how good the water quality is up in those regions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talk a little bit about the difference between the EHD and the blue tongue, because I guess I
Yeah.
honestly didn't know there was a whole lot of a difference in the midges, and do they act differently or?
Yeah, so it's the same midge. So it's Cuthiocodes midge is the same exact carrier, the vector of the disease. However, blue tongue and EHD are different variants of the disease. So like out west, for instance, like we get into Wyoming, Montana, things that way. Like I said, part of the Dakotas, part of like western Kansas, we're getting a little more blue tongue, and it's just a variant of the disease. That's what it is. It's kind of like back when COVID was a thing, if there was like different variants of COVID, right? It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, all right, now like a deer could, let's say, fought EHD, but then the next year got blue tongue. The blue tongue might wipe it out because it's a different variant of the disease. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
big thing. It's still passed by the Cuthiocodes midge, which is the genus of the species, the Noceum midge. But yeah, that's really all it is. Like I said, just a variant of the disease.
Is there a difference in the severity of like how they are killed compared to the other?
Nope, pretty similar. You're talking usually when a deer gets bit by either, you're talking 48 to 72 hours, that deer could be dead.
Okay.
There's some cases where they'll last 10 to 15 days. And then I've talked to some individuals where they do a lot of, in the states where they can, but they do a lot of mineral, a lot of feeding of, better premium feeds. I've heard those guys actually making deer last and fight it off a little better, but then
Yeah.
the rut just ends up taking them when they lose all that body weight. And,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big thing too, to state southern US, the deer do have immunity to EHD. It's just that all our Midwestern deer haven't been able to build it up because it was never here.
Yeah. I've listened to a couple podcasts where they've talked about that, and actually I know Oklahoma talked about reintroducing. So was that was CWD, I think, maybe, though, or was it? It might have been CWD.
I remember, yeah.
They were reintroducing deer that were had genes that could fight off the disease. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if state agencies start talking more about that, even with combating EHD. One thing kind of that really surprised me that I've noticed, I always thought EHD was more of a summer kill. It would be, like late July or August, whenever you get those drought conditions, and you'd be seeing them deer
Yeah.
die off. And one thing I've just started to see since moving down here, and some deer that I've found dead that I've had on camera, I mean, I'm finding some of these deer dying in November, December.
Yep.
So it was really shocking to me that it can hit those times of the year. We are in a lot warm Octobers and even warm Novembers
Yeah.
down here too. So I'm sure that that's definitely, creating the perfect storm for having those outbreaks also.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, so it's all based on the first killing frost, and a killing frost is 28 degrees. Which everyone just thinks a frost is 32. It's not. There's different variants of a frost, but you need a killing frost to actually wipe out the midge. And I mean, even up here, we're starting to see we're not getting the winters we used to have ever. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I plowed snow once last year up here in Wisconsin. It's ridiculous. So yeah, you go down your climate, or you go to Kansas, you go to all these Midwestern states, Ohio, they're not getting the winters like we used to have. So the midge is lasting way longer than it used to. And obviously
Hmm.
it's a climate change thing, and we're not going to get into that conversation. But with that said, if the midge can still prevail, it still has the disease in it, it's still doing the life cycle. That female midge just needs blood supply, and that's it, to make her eggs. And she's going to reproduce and make eggs as long as she's able to, until obviously a frost takes them out. So it's no different than
Hmm.
mosquitoes, right? I mean, we'll get mosquito flush again every single year. They don't disappear until we get that killing frost. And you get in Iowa, especially southern Iowa, there's probably some years, like you said, you don't get a good killing frost till November, December. And now that midge is just having a good old time. And the summer kill used to be a bigger thing because we used to have the winters like we should have. And then they would go to the blood supply of obviously the mature buck, because obviously his rack has most of the blood in the summer. But as we're going on, the evolution of it is definitely changing because of the climate change. And I've even heard the airstream has been altered. And one thing that's helping us, like up here, is we have the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes push a lot of the airstream away. So it kind of helps us keep colder up here, whereas you guys don't have that buffer down in Iowa. There isn't a Lake Michigan sitting there nearby. So that does play a factor as well.
Let's talk a little bit about ways to hopefully fight off that dirty EHD. Zach's been doing a lot of hard work, and he's actually put out some kind of a revolutionary product, I would say, in the hunting industry. I'm really excited to learn more about it. I've been hearing a lot of buzz about it on social media. Just, I guess, dive a little bit into kind of the work you've been putting into your EHD-Fense, right?
Yep.
That's the
EHD-Fense.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Dive into that and just some of the background on how the development of it and what you're seeing.
Yeah. So obviously, being a aquatic biologist for 20 years, I was able to kind of have my hands on things that others might not. So managing these different ponds and lakes. So, anyways, as it went on, when I was a research director, part of it, obviously, that was when my whole Missouri lease thing happened, and my deer died. I'm like, okay, so what's stopping this midge? What's the root cause of the midge? So I started researching the midge itself. Okay, so the midge prefers poor water quality. It actually survives in high salinity. So anyone doing the mineral sites near the ponds, stop that. But with that said, it also doesn't do well with competition. So I started talking to professors from Montana State, Wyoming State, Colorado State. I was diving into, at the time, what were the big EHD states, right? Blue tongue states. So I'm thinking, okay, out west has this issue with pronghorn, mule deer, elk, even some cases, or a couple rare cases of bighorn sheep. I'm like, okay, let's talk to these guys. But then also, like, I had the backing of University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. So I went back to my professors. I talked to our zoologist. I talked about to our entomologist, and I'm going, all right, so I got this issue, guys. And for them, none of them are really hunters, so they couldn't wrap their head around like, okay, why is this impacting a white-tailed deer? I'm like, don't worry about that point. That's my thing I have to focus on. But so I asked about the Culeocodes midge, and they kind of confirmed my findings of, it likes poor water quality. It needs a organic, rich substance to breed in, and so I'm thinking, okay, and this is just above, even beyond mud, guys. This is also dirty tree holes and all this stuff, or that old tire that has muck in it, things that way. They just need organic matter to breed. So with that said, I've been working on all these different ponds across Wisconsin and working and using beneficial bacteria and enzymes to essentially combat and fix these water sources, remediate nutrients, and overall just improve these water sources. And then with this knowledge of the midge from these professors, and then also seeing it firsthand, like when I would take care of an acre pond, for instance, and I'd be, obviously, here and there I'd be treating for algae or weeds, whatever might they have. But as I'm using these different beneficial, probiotics and biota and biocatalysts, I'm also hearing from my own clients, they're not getting bit by as many mosquitoes, their fishery's doing better, their pond's not stinking, they're seeing more frogs, they're seeing more reptiles. Okay, something's happening here. So then I took it to the little ponds. All right, let's take it away from the big ponds. And that started treating wildlife ponds. So I've been doing my own wildlife ponds on my own property because I wasn't ballsy enough to bring it to my clients yet. I'm like, all right, let's just focus on my ponds first, because if I screw it up, it's just, hey, it's Zach's fault and no one else's. So anyways, I started applying monthly regimens of these different probiotics and biocatalysts. And suddenly I seen my water getting clear. I started seeing more frogs. I started seeing more aquatic insects, more aquatic inverts, like your water boatman, your scavenger beetles, all these things. And I also wasn't seeing my deer having as many mosquitoes, as many bugs on their heads, things that way when they're by the water sources. Also, even just case in point, my own son, he loves my wildlife ponds because that's his best frog catching spots. I don't care for it because that's also where my bucks are going to drink. But that said, all these things are there, and he's not getting bit by mosquitoes. Like, he's one of those kids that gets the big welts and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so if we're reducing mosquito larvae and not having that hatch, okay, how's this going to affect Achilles codes midge? So then I started going into it, and everyone's like I said, it's the mud, right? Mud. And part of the EHD-Fense is to focus on mud. Part of it is to get rid of the actual muck, because that's where the eggs are laid, the larvae start developing, and then the larva will actually emerge out of the muck and develop into a pupa. And from there, then they emerge as an adult and start flying and stuff that way. So with that said, I developed the EHD-Fense to have essentially 3 parts to it. And the first part of it is called catapult, and that's a biocatalyst. It's an enzyme. So an enzyme, what a biocatalyst does in biology, it speeds up a process, right? I mean, we have a bunch of enzymes in our own body that's speeding up different digestions and all that kind of stuff, right? You put enzymes in water and biocatalysts in water, because what it'll do is actually speeds up the decomposition of organic matter and breaks it down into simple sugars. So like fructose, glucose, sucrose, things that way. And that's what the bacteria needed to thrive and live. So I always say it's like, that's the chef. He's putting the food on the plate, and the bacteria is the guy ready to consume that, 72-ounce steak. So
Yeah.
with that said, first you put the biocatalyst, the catapult in, and it's only 4 ounces. And it's like one of those like tip and pour, you find stable or like a mixed gas in. 4 ounces poured in. And then the next step of it is live water. So live water is a water soluble pouch. And all it is like, so each kit treats up to 5 pounds, either 5 tubs or 1 pound up to 2,500 gallons. So you take 1 pouch, you just toss it in the water. Simple as that. Now the bacteria, the beneficial aerobic bacteria, got introduced to the water source, and they're going to be doing the heavy lifting as far as the water quality itself, the actual water. So that's what live water is focusing on. It's going to start, taking all those simple sugars. It's going to start breaking them down. It's going to feed on organics that are throughout the water system, but also it's going to reduce phosphorus, which is huge when it comes to water, because that's the limiting nutrient of all growth. And it's also going to kickstart the nitrification cycle to actually get rid of your ammonias and things that way that can be harmful to the water. And then the last part, and this is what I would call is the heavy lifter of it, is called demuck. So that's your muck reducer. So it's actually a pellet. So it's a pelletized form of beneficial bacteria that are derived from the sediments. And these are going to actually work on decomposition of the organic matters within the soil. And ironically, back in my point days, I did a research article on this and actually got published, where I took a similar product as demuck and I reduced the sediment by 7.21 inches in one season. 7 inches of muck. Think of how many midges can live in 7 inches of muck. A lot.
Yeah. Wow.
So now we're improving, obviously, the water itself, but we're also reducing muck and reversing the clock on Mother Nature. And that's what it is. And what's cool about it is there's no pesticidal means to this. There's no pesticides. So we're not killing your beneficial inverts, your beneficial insects, your amphibians, your reptiles. And the cool thing is, like, dragonfly larvae feed on the midge. Water boatmen feed on the midge. Scavenger beetles feed on the midge. They are all predators of the Achilles midge. So as water quality diminishes, you will lose your inverts. You will lose your beneficial insects. You will lose your beneficial bacteria. And before you know it, the only thing left in that system is Achilles midge. So we want to reverse the clock on Mother Nature, improve that water quality, which in turn increases how many predators there are in the midge. And now we reduce EHD possibility in our ponds.
Mind
Ever do a
blowing.
mic drop?
Yeah. That is amazing. Like, so much information into that, but It's just kind of crazy that you tied your whole point days expertise into what I think is, like I said, a revolutionary product that's going to hopefully change deer hunting, and the quality of deer hunting in the future. Uh, that is,
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's, I think it's hard to first when you see it, right? Everyone wants to think of smoke and mirrors. Oh, this is snake oil. But once you hear about it and I explain the
mhm.
science, and honestly, this is the stuff that keeps me up at night. My wife hates it because my gears are always moving. But once the science shown, and I'm even doing right now ongoing studies of it. I'm testing and actually doing sweep nests of my own pond to see how many invert counts, how counts I'm getting, insect counts I'm getting. I'm doing tests on various ponds up here in Wisconsin right now, where I'm actually watching nutrient reduction, seeing how phosphorus is changing, nitrogen changes. So there's also the products out there available for everyone, and especially right now. I mean, was it? It's July 1st today. It's go time. It's time to get the product
Yeah,
in hand and get it in the water. But no, on the back end of it, I'm still that biologist at heart. So to me, I'm still studying. I'm still researching. I'm already on to the next 3 items that I want to bring out.
hmm
So there's even more down the line coming as far as the water quality goes. But this product alone, EHD-Fense, I mean, to me, I wrote an article way back in 2016 about it. It makes so much sense to me, and where to me it's common sense, obviously, because this is where I live and breathe. But honestly, finally, we have something to reduce EHD rather than just go, well, is it going to be a bad year? That's not
yeah.
for me.
One of the questions I had on the EHD-Fense is, as far as like treatments go, are you
Yep.
recommending it in any water sources, maybe like water tanks, tubs, things like that?
Yep. 100%. Yeah. So for instance, like I just put in a couple deer ponds, and they're brand new. So I've already put in a packet of the live water, and I've added catapult. Now I didn't add the demuck in those kits just because there's no muck yet, right? So
Okay.
to add that would be, save those for future years when the muck starts developing, because it will. I mean, it's crazy. Like I just was up by a client in a month and a half ago, and he has some of the bigger, like 240-gallon ones, and there's
hmm
already 6 inches of muck, and those ponds are only in place for 2 years. So
hmm
I still am adding all these products to all my little tubs, my deer ponds, my line ponds, you name it. I'm using this everywhere. And
Yeah.
the cool thing about it is even in those ponds, and that's how I kind of built it too. Was like, okay, let's be honest. Most guys use tubs. Most guys aren't putting in ponds. Just the nature of life. So one kit will treat 5 tubs for 5 months. So like, obviously, like for you guys down in Iowa, for instance, let's say you get a kit today. I mean, you're trading for easily for the rest of the season, all the way up until those worry days, like we talked about with the whole later in the year.
Yeah.
Now you're going the whole season, or you're even having a little maybe spillover to start your next season as well.
Okay. And you said, what is it, monthly treatments, or
Yep,
how
once a
often are
month.
you having treat? Okay.
Yeah, so once a month. I mean, now I will say there is a little bit to it. Like for instance, like we're getting, I don't know about you guys, but we're getting crazy amount of rain up here. Like just way too
Yeah.
much. I can't do any work. And with that said, so like we just got 3.5 inches the other day. So I went out after that rainstorm and I treated all my ponds just because I knew I had
Okay.
nutrient runoff and all these different things that came into the pond. So having some extra on hand isn't a bad thing because I do still target big rain events myself, and this is what I did for my pond clients too back in the day. But once a month, and like I just posted a video actually today, and about how quick it is. So I did the whole kit in a pond. It was probably like maybe a 1,500-gallon pond in under 45 seconds, and I was done out of there. Low intrusion. I mean, that's to me that's huge. You don't want to be in that big
hmm
buck's bedroom very long.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, I'm fascinated by this whole pro. I know I'm excited to see what kind of new products you got coming out, because uh, like I said, like there's nothing out there like this right now, and I just feel like it's gonna definitely draw a lot of attention and hopefully save a lot of deer's lives.
And it's another tool. I mean, honestly, and like the whole kit's just over $200. All right. So it's like, it ends up being like, if you have tubs, it ends up being like $9, $9 a tub a month. Like, all right, just don't go to Quick Trip that day.
Yeah.
But that's so it's super cheap to do. And, in the world of wildlife and management, to me, it's such a cheap way to give your deer what they need. Cause I mean, I'm thinking like, and obviously once again, I love hunting big whitetails. And I know a lot of guys that have hunted some giants that have lost them. Well, I'm telling you one thing, when I get my Iowa tag in a couple of years and I've waited 6 years, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm making sure the place I go to is taking care of their water, because I'm gonna be pretty PO'd when I waited 6 years, $1,000, and just tags, and then go, oh, they all died. Sweet, that was awesome.
hmm
I'll get to wait another 6 years and hope EHD doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I've seen that with a lot of guys down here that non-residents that are putting in, and there's a lot of paranoia, just praying that EHD don't hit the year that they draw the tag.
Yeah, and that's
But
just, to me, that's not satisfactory.
yeah. Well, do you have anything else you want to chat on with the product itself, that we haven't discussed?
No, I mean, that's pretty much in the nutshell. Obviously, the product, how it
Okay.
works, things that way. I mean, the only
Okay.
other thing I'd probably point out is if you have bigger ponds, that is when, like, I would strongly recommend people to reach out to me. So I do have a EHD-Fense email. So it's Haas, HAAS at EHD-Fense.com. But reach out to me if you have a bigger pond. So if you have a quarter acre, half acre, 1 acre or more, don't go buy the kit sizes then, because like I seen that a lot when we launched. People are like, I would need 320 kits. That's going to cost me $500,000. No, don't do that. So reach out to me. I will make a custom management plan for any pond. I mean, that's what I did for, like I said, for 20 years, is building management
hmm
plans. So we have bulk product available as well. So if you have the bigger ponds, we can get bulk products. Like we have one kit coming out. It's going to be the outfitter kit, or land manager kit. So we do have bulk products available for those bigger ponds. That's one thing I do want to stress. These kits themselves, the water treatment kit, the 3-part kit, is meant for your water tubs, your deer ponds, and your smaller wildlife ponds.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Zach, I'm absolutely impressed with the product and all your knowledge in water quality. Was awesome having you on today. Sorry about all the technical difficulties, but
It happens, man.
we fought through them. We overcame it. Maybe just I'll make sure I drop a link in our description in all these videos so people can find your land management company and your EHD-Fense products. But if you want to just maybe mention kind of where you can be found for some of that stuff, and we can kind of close things up here.
Sure. So yeah, it's like my actual land management business. So I do have my website, Creek Bottom Land, mgmt.com, on all the different socials, right? I mean, it's just the life we live now. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. The only one I don't do is X. But with that said, EHD-Fense for that product. So we have our website, which is EHD-Fense, and it's spelled FENSE. So like defense of like a football team. So EHD-Fense.com. And once again, we're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and I'm always open for emails and things that way too. It comes to water, so you can always email me. So that's Haas at EHD-Fense.com, and I'll be happy to work with anyone, obviously, in setting up their ponds, and also do land consults, all that kind of stuff as well for my own management business. So
Awesome. Well, thanks for having you on, Zach. I'm sure we'll be chatting more in the future.